All right, what's going on, folks? So, hope you guys are ready for another lesson. And this is obviously the lesson which is going to end off week 3, which is on obviously creating your ultimate funnel. Now, lesson 6, like I said, we dove into creating an irresistible front-end offer. So I had a couple questions after that lesson, which I kind of just want to dive into just to make sure that no one else is kind of wondering the same thing but just hasn't said anything. So one question I received was, in terms of creating an irresistible offer, does this mean I'm making my own product, which I'm going to sell my own product? No. Creating your own irresistible offer was all about creating a front-end offer, right, which is going to be used to sell your main product or service in the back end. All right. So your main product or service being maybe you're an affiliate for a business opportunity, maybe you're in a network marketing company, or maybe, like I said, maybe it's a service like online personal training, maybe it's coaching, or maybe it is your own product. I don't really know, but I just want to be clear that lesson 6 wasn't about like creating your own product to sell. It was about creating something that you're going to give away for free in return for someone's email, so that you can, like I said, you can offer them value and position your offer in transcendence as something that solves some initial pain and brings up more pain, and then, like I said, you align your product or service to sell. All right, like I said, it's just a much more effective way to sell to people than just sending someone to like a business or service-based squeeze page without first kind of establishing any relationship or value. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions at any point, make sure to leave them in the group. But I think we've been pretty good to go so far, so that's absolutely great. And today what we're going to be diving into is how to automate your irresistible offer. And by the end of this lesson, what you're going to understand how to do is how to integrate your irresistible offer into your hungry buyer haven. All right, so you may not have your irresistible offer yet. You probably don't, because, like I said, it's probably going to take you at least a few days to create. But like I said, in this lesson, I'm going to show you guys briefly how to use basically the remaining plugins on your blog on how to actually integrate your irresistible offer into it. And then we're going to dive into the secret to true lifestyle freedom, which is email marketing. So this is a very, very important lesson. And this is really where your leverage and time freedom is going to come in, is with email marketing. Okay, you guys are going to learn a lot from today's lesson. Super stoked, and I hope you guys are raring to go. So, applying your irresistible offer to your blog. In the previous lesson, what we dove into was how to create an irresistible offer, so aka the front-end offer, to sell your main product or service in the back end. So once you create your irresistible offer, you're going to need a way to for other people to access it, right? So what we're going to dive into is how to configure it. So in this lesson, we're actually going to spend less time in PowerPoint, and we're going to spend a lot more time actually going through things live. So just brought up my browser here. Just give me one sec. So what I want to kind of briefly recap is all the areas that you guys have where someone can opt in to get on your email list. Okay. Now the first area, which isn't showing right now, is the hello bar, and that's a little bar that appears the first time you visit the website at the top, which basically drops down and it says discover how I XYZ, and then there's a button. I can actually show you guys that. I'll just go into a new tab here. So that is one of the areas we're going to learn how to customize to implement it, so when someone clicks that button, they can actually opt in directly to our site. All right, the next area is obviously the pop-up, which happens when I try to click the back button. I haven't configured one on this website, obviously, but if you go to like Astrapreneur, for example, the first time you visit the website, as I go to click the back button, a pop-up appears. Now, you can also just make it that a pop-up appears after like 10 to 15 seconds after viewing the website, but the most effective way that you guys can do that is when someone's about to click the back button. So that's what I'm going to show you guys actually how to do. And once this loads, hopefully it goes up so that you guys can see as I was going to click the back button, once the website fully loaded, a pop-up area comes in. So we're going to learn how to customize that. Another area that we're going to learn how to customize is on the sidebar. So on my blog, I actually don't have a specific sidebar opt-in form, but I'm going to show you guys actually how you can put one in the sidebar. I'm also going to show you guys how you can make it so when you scroll down, that pop-up actually follows you as you're scrolling down the sidebar of your website. And last but not least, I'm going to show you guys how you can actually put an opt-in form at the bottom of your blog right here. All right. So I'm just going to log into the back end here. So just give me 1 second. Like I said, obviously this is going to require you to have your irresistible offer done, and it's obviously going to have to require you to have the copywriting done. So like I said, if you haven't done that yet, then don't worry about it, but you can either follow along and just kind of just do some demo text for now, or you can just choose to just watch now, comprehend it, and then when you're actually ready to get to this part where you're going to actually implement it into your blog, then you can rewatch it and follow steps. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just take a look at how you customize the hello bar. All right. So the place where you customize that, you guys have to go into just settings, and then bug me bar settings. All right, that's what it's called. It's called bug me bar. And basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's a lot of options here. There's not many that you guys actually need to necessarily worry about. The main thing is what you see right here. So this, you can see, correlates to what you see on the bug me bar. All right, so discover how I XYZ, and you can too. Show me how. All right, so you can see in here, discover how I XYZ and how you can too, and then we have this fancy looking bit of code right here. All right, so I don't expect you guys to understand how this works. You just have to understand that this is a link. All right, so you can see show me how is clickable, and it's surrounded in this like red border, right, to make it look like a button. So that's what's doing that, is this a href equals and then the rest of this code. So you guys can ignore this. You just have to understand, if you want to edit what the button says, then you have to edit what's inside these brackets here. So you just have to change the text inside here and make sure you don't get rid of any of these brackets. All right. So show me how. If I wanted to change that to send me the info, I could do so just by obviously send me the info. As long as you don't delete like any of the brackets, you're good to go. Now, when you actually want to make this this button clickable, because you can see right now, if I click this, it doesn't go anywhere besides the home page of the website. All I have to do is I have to replace this number sign with link. All right, and I want to keep it in between these apostrophes. So there needs to be an apostrophe on either side. So you don't want to delete any of that. But I would go HTTP and then whatever the link is, www.yoursite.com. Maybe it's a squeeze page, so /squeeze or something like that. All right. So that's how you would customize the text, and then obviously if you want to change discover how I XYZ, and you can too. You guys can just easily change that to whatever it is that you want. So that's all you have to do with bug me bar. In terms of message font size, obviously this relates to how big the font is here. So you guys can change that from 17 to whatever you would like. Use your website's font. I would actually probably change that to yes. Message color. So this is going to be whatever color this font is right here. So you could change that to whatever you like. You can just click it and you see a little color wheel appears. The link color, I don't think is going to do anything because I've made this basically stay the same. And you guys can pretty much just read the rest of the options and figure out what they do. The only other things I want to bring your attention to is when it says cookie expires in 2 days. Basically what this means is if someone exits out of this bug me bar, then it's going to be 2 days before it's going to show up again. All right. So you could change this to 1 day. So if you want, so if someone visits your site the first day, chooses to exit out of this, 24 hours later, then it's going to show again. All right. If you leave this as 0, then it's going to show up every time they view a page or a blog post, which isn't really recommended. So I would either do this cookie expires as 1 or 2 days. Transitioning colors, what this will do is if I turn this to yes, and I put more colors down here, what it's going to do is it's going to animate and it's going to transition those colors. So it's going to go from black to red, and if I put another color, go black to red to purple. This can be kind of cool because it brings more attention to it. You can see actually mine, if you pay attention here, it goes from this reddish color and then it actually fades back to basically black. So again, it's kind of just a cool effect which kind of just is going to draw someone's attention to it even more. So you guys can kind of play around with that and get that to work if you'd like. Or you can just leave it one color by just turning this off, and then you just change the first color you see here in terms of color 1. All right. A fixed position bar, what this is going to do is if this is enabled, then it's going to make this bar follow you as you scroll down. If you don't have that, then it's just going to stay static. Okay. So that's about it for Bug Me Bar. So for Bug Me Bar, you're either going to want to put the link as a squeeze page. You can also use it as a link to go to one of your specific pages. So maybe I want this link to go to my Start Here page. Or what you can do is if you have lead pages, you can take their special link that they give you and you can make a pop-up that looks like this. So that when they click it, basically a pop-up window appears. All right. So you guys have some options. It's up to you what you want to do with the Bug Me Bar. The next thing I'll show you guys how to do is how to do the pop-ups. All right. So how you can configure it so when you're about to click the back button, a pop-up will appear. All right. And this plugin actually has a lot of other functionality as well. So the plugin that we're looking for is Opt-in Monster. Okay, so if you go into Opt-in Monster, you're going to come to a page that looks like this. All right, so it's going to be blank for you, but I actually created just one test opt-in. But what you guys are going to want to make sure you do first is go inside MISC, and you're going to want to make sure the license key is here. Okay. So you guys can find the license key in the lesson 5, the worksheet, the action guide that I included. All right. So if I go on over to the group, actually, I'll just put this inside here. If I go into the group and then go into Files, and I find the lesson 5 worksheet, I'll just go ahead and preview this for now. If you guys scroll down to the bottom, I believe, sorry, it's not lesson 5, it's actually lesson 4, my bad. There we go. So if you guys scroll down to the bottom of the lesson 4 worksheet, you guys are going to see we have Opt-in Monster license key. So if you don't see anything within, where is my window now? If you guys don't see anything inside the Opt-in Monster license key area, then obviously you guys are just going to copy and paste that in there. All right, and this is just going to make sure you get updates and make sure it works correctly. So yeah, if you guys don't see that in there, then just copy and paste that from the lesson 4 worksheet. Once you do that, you're good to go. So what you can actually do is you can go on over to back into opt-ins, and you can go ahead and click Create New Opt-in. So you guys can see that we have a lot of options on screen. So basically what we can do is we can create a lightbox pop-up. Basically, lightbox and canvas pop-up are pretty much the same thing. These are going to allow us to create pop-up opt-in areas. So these are areas that we can do either when they're going to appear like 10 to 15 seconds after someone's been on the site, or opt-ins when I'm about to click the back button. The footer bar, what this is going to allow you to do is add an opt-in area to the footer, so pretty self-explanatory. So it's going to allow you to add an opt-in area down here, or it's either going to do one of two things. I actually haven't really tested that one out yet. It's either going to add an opt-in bar like directly to your footer here, or it's going to add like a floating opt-in bar, so it's going to follow you and it's going to stay on the bottom of the screen. So one of those two. After post is pretty self-explanatory, and after post opt-in area is going to appear once you scroll down to the bottom of the post, and it's going to appear close to where these social network icons are. A sidebar is obviously a sidebar opt-in area is obviously going to appear in the sidebar of your blog. So you're going to be able to go into appearance and widgets, and you're going to be able to place it in here. And last but not least, a slide-in opt-in bar. What that's going to do is instead of like an opt-in form just like appearing in the middle of the screen, you can set to like after 10 to 15 seconds someone's been on this blog post, the opt-in bar is actually going to slide in from the left. All right. So very, very powerful plugin, Optin-Monster. It's a very expensive plugin. It's like I think it was like $300 or something for the limited license. So you guys have access to this, and it's an extremely powerful tool that you guys are going to want to take advantage of. So let's just pretend I want to make a pop-up which would appear as I was about to click the back button. Okay, so what I would do is I would go into Canvas pop-up. I would choose next step. All right, then I would call this, I have the opt-in title, so this is just what you want to call the opt-in, just for your records. So I would call this back button pop-up. All right. Now, if I was going to make this just a normal pop-up, which was just going to appear after, like, say, for example, I just wanted to appear after 10 seconds after browsing the website, then I would obviously put this to I would put a time here, all right? But because we're doing this as what's called an exit intent pop-up, which is when the person is about to click the back button, I'm going to just click this option, and I'm going to leave this blank, okay? Show powered by, usually I turn this off unless you want to make affiliate commissions with Optin-Monster. And usually I will, if you go load on second page view, it's only going to show this pop-up to someone who has viewed a second post. But you don't really want that checked for when you're doing the exit intent pop-up, and you don't want this checked. In terms of the cookie duration, again, whatever you put here is basically going to determine when this is going to be shown again. So if I put 7 days, so say for example someone visits my site right now, the pop-up appears, they click exit out of the pop-up, then if they come back to my site tomorrow, it's not going to show until 7 days later. All right. If I put 1 here, then it'll show 24 hours later. 2, it'll show 48 hours later, and so forth. Okay. And one thing you have to keep in mind for the loading delay is whatever you put here, it's in milliseconds. So 1,000 milliseconds equals 1 second. All right. So if you want this to, so say for example you weren't doing the back button pop-up, but you wanted a pop-up to appear 10 seconds after they landed on the page, then obviously I would want to put 10,000 milliseconds, okay? If I wanted it to appear 15 seconds after someone landed on the page, I would put 15,000 milliseconds. So you guys can click, you guys can research milliseconds if you don't understand that, but basically 1,000 equals 1 second. So you just times that by how many seconds you want the delay to be. All right, so that's it. Like I said, we're doing exit intent, so we're just going to leave this blank. I will probably put this actually 1 day, so it'll show 48 hours later. Sorry, 24 hours later, and we'll just go next. So the next thing you got to do is you have to select what kind of theme you want. So we're just going to select the whiteboard theme for now. Because that's the only option, and we're just going to go open Design Customizer, and you guys can see that it's a blank canvas. Okay, so what we can actually do here is a few things. I actually made a little bit of a mistake, so my bad. So what you guys want to realize is as you're creating a new opt-in, this is good for, again, is Canvas is basically a blank pop-up. So if you have experience like with a little bit of coding, or you want full control over how your pop-up looks, then you're going to want to choose Canvas. Okay. If you want to use the templates, then go ahead and choose the Lightbox pop-up. So my bad, made a little bit of a mistake there, but we'll get through this. So again, just opt-in title, back button, opt-in delay leave, opt-in cookie duration we'll put as 1. Where do you want someone to go after they opt in? So if you have an irresistible offer page, then you're going to want to put it here, which we're going to get into. These are all the same links. And down here, it's email provider settings. So what you guys are going to want to do is you're going to want to select who your email provider is. So we're going to actually get into this after I finish going over the blog. in terms of what this is and how you can get it. But basically, the email provider is just where what service you're using to store emails and send emails. So I'm using Aweber. So when I click Aweber, it's actually going to give me instructions on how I can connect Aweber to OptiMonster. But for now, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to use this option because it's going to allow me to not do anything right now. So getting on to the next page here, this is what I want you guys to see. So you have an option of themes that you guys can choose. So you can choose one that kind of relates to what you want to do. You can see some of them use images, some of them basically just require you to edit text. So for now, I think what we'll do is I'll just use like this chalkboard theme, and we'll go Open Design Customizer. All right, so that looks a little better now. So again, just to recap, if you choose the canvas option, then it's going to be blank, okay? And that's really only for advanced users. You choose opt-in, then it's going to have these templates for you. So I can customize body color. I can customize the footer color right here. I can customize the outer border color and the arrow. I can customize the titles. Obviously, this is what we want. So this is where we would put your copywriting. So discover how I XYZ and you can. All right, gurus hate this. In terms of the tagline, this is more text I can put to back up my copywriting. You can obviously choose the font size, and it's pretty self-explanatory on how you use this. In terms of fields and buttons, so this is obviously your email field. So whatever I put here, obviously because I didn't connect it to Aweber, it's not showing. But this is how I customize like my what I want it to say when someone puts in their email here. So I usually put like smack your best email right here, and I can obviously the submit button I can change as well. And in terms of custom CSS, you guys don't really want to worry about that. The only other thing you guys would want to worry about is the display effect. So what the display effect allows you to do is add a cool animation when someone sees your pop-up. So you can have your pop-up bounce in, you can have it flash, you can have it pulse, you can have it look like a rubber band, you can have it swing, you can have it wobble, you can have it rotate. Usually it gives a preview, so let's see if it will actually do the animation for us. But if not, I can actually apply it to the website. You guys can see what this will do. So rotate down left. Sure, let's do rotate down left and let's save. Perfect. So once you're happy with how the pop-up looks, you're just going to click close. Obviously, this is just a quick example, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. And then you go manage output settings. So to make this live, you're going to want to obviously click this option, which is going to enable the opt-in bar. And other than that, that's really about it. If you only want your pop-up to appear on specific sections, then you're going to just want to use these other options. But just for simplicity right now, we'll just enable it on all pages of their website. Go save. And it's going to say saved. And now if I go back into opt-ins right here, I can see that we have our back button pop-up, which is right here, okay? This is the one that we just created. This is the one we created before, which was the canvas, which, like I said, it isn't really for the scope of this lesson. This is more for advanced, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And if I go back to the website now, let's see if it's worked, which hopefully it did. So it loads, and if I go back to click the back button, let's go actually load this in a new tab because I think the cookie's already been placed. So load again. Wait for it to load here, and if I go click the back button, nothing happens. Lovely. So I think I'm just going to clear my cookies here. But if this is the first time you view the website, then this will show. And I think if I go, just got to clear my cookies here. So if the pop-up doesn't show for you guys either, then what that means is you have it saved as cookies. So you got to go clear browsing data, and you just have to go to clear cookies and other site data. But actually, I'm not going to do this right now because what this is going to do too is it's going to log me out of Google. But you guys will, the pop-up will show up in most cases. Now, another thing that you can do with this plugin is you can actually do what's called a split test. So you're able to actually test two different pop-ups against each other to see which one converts the best. All right, and this is what the pros do. And this is how they always figure out the best ways that they can increase conversions. So what a split test is say, for example, in my pop-up, I said, you know how I use the copywriting, discover how I X, Y, Z, and you can too. If I want to test copywriting that said now, maybe watch this video to discover how you can X, Y, Z. So I just wanted to change the headline. What I can do, what this plugin can do is it can actually serve the two different versions to the people, so it'll be 50-50, and it's going to tell you which one converts the best. So if I go here, I can go create a split test, and you can see now I have it cloned our back button pop-up and it put it underneath. Now if I can go ahead and edit this. I can change the copywriting, and like I said, it's going to show 50% of the visitors to my blog this pop-up, and then 50% of the visitors to the blog this pop-up. And then after about a week, I can be like, okay, well actually this copywriting is better. So I'm going to actually replace this and make this my main one, all right? And I can do another split test if I want to. So split testing is really cool. It's a great way to really get fine control and see what really works the best. So another thing that you can do in terms of creating opt-ins is, like I said, make an after-post widget. I can make a sidebar opt-in. So let's do this quickly. If I go sidebar opt-in, you can see we have pretty much the same settings. So I'd call it a sidebar opt-in. Where do I want the person to go after they opt in? I would put whatever page is next. So the page that they can either download my irresistible offer, maybe my thank you page, whatever that would be. Again, I hook up my email provider. I'm just going to choose this for now so we can move forward. And you guys are going to see Opt-in Monster on the next page. It gives me some themes that I can use for my sidebar widget. So let's just use Postal for now. And again, if I click Open Customizer, it's going to allow me to customize the font and everything. But I just want to show you guys this quickly, so we'll just move on. And then we'll go ahead and enable it on the site. And we'll click Save. And you guys can see if I go into Appearance and then Widgets, all I have to do is I just have to add the Opt-in Monster widget to the sidebar, so you can find it in the widgets over here. Opt-in Monster. Go ahead and drag it down. I select which opt-in form I want, and I click Save. And you guys are going to see that's going to appear on the sidebar. All right, so I didn't take the time to customize it or add my text, but you can see there it is. And one of the cool features of this theme is the ability to make it what's called a fixed widget. So if I click this fixed widget option, what this will do is as I scroll down, now this sidebar opt-in form is actually going to follow me. So you can see it starts to follow me down, all right? And you can see it better on my blog, Astrapreneur, where if I go in a blog post, I don't have an opt-in widget that's following me down, but I have a banner, which when I click the banner, as I'll show you guys here, it will actually bring up an opt-in form. So I reach the end of my sidebar, I keep scrolling down, and you can see this follows me. Right, so this is really powerful because most of the time, once you reach the end of your sidebar in a long post, there's nothing here, so this space isn't being utilized. But when you enable fixed widget, and you only usually do this on like your last widget on your sidebar, then like I said, you're going to get the full coverage, and people are going to see it wherever they go. So that's really cool. Let me log into the back end of Astrapreneur actually just to show you the stats that Opt-in so you guys can better see that. So while that's loading here, what we'll do is we'll just go into Opt-in Monster. So you guys can see that this is the pop-up that I have enabled on my website right now. So I have the exit intention pop-up, and it's converting at. So first of all, it tells me how many times people have seen the pop-up or whatever it is, whether it's a sidebar opt-in. It tells me how many conversions I've gone, so how many leads I've gone from it, and it tells me its conversion percentage. And you guys can actually see that I have done a split test here. So I have one opt-in style, okay, and I wanted to test something else. So I think the thing I tested was maybe the background image. I can't even necessarily remember right now. But you can see that I've let this go for about a week now, and I can see that my second variation is now out converting my first variation. It's at 1.8%, 1.88%. So what I would do starting next week on Monday is I'm going to delete this variation. I'm going to make this variation live. Okay. Now I could leave that and be happy with my 1.88%. But what I'll probably do now is again I'll create another split test and I'll see if I can bring this number even higher. Okay. So split testing is really another thing, guys, that separates amateur marketers from professional marketers. Okay. Because it's really how you can take the same amount of traffic, the exact same website, but make even more money from it, right? Because you're not doing anything in terms of sending more traffic to it at all. It's the same website, getting the same traffic. All you're doing is you're just tweaking things like colors, images, text, style, and you see if it can increase conversions. Okay, so split testing is really powerful. I recommend that you guys do that, even if you do like sidebars and everything like that. So that's OptinMonster for the most part, guys. That's just kind of just a quick introduction to it. Again, if you guys actually go into that lesson 4 worksheet, there's actually a link to the documentation of OptinMonster if you guys are still confused and you want a more in-depth tutorial. You guys can also just type into Google Optin same link where this will walk you through exactly how to use OptinMonster A to Z. So if you're really having a hard time with this, then you can start going through some of their tutorials. You can see it teaches you how to install the plugin, how to make the pop-ups, how to do split testing. I saw split testing somewhere here. There you go. How to create a split test in OptinMonster. So it walks you through really well, step by step, how to actually do that. So if you guys need more help, there you go, and you can see that actually their website actually just used one of the pop-ups, which is really cool, as I was about to actually exit out of the screen. So awesome stuff. That is OptinMonster. What else do we have? What else did I say that we're going to customize? I think actually for the most part that's really about it. We covered OptinMonster. We covered going into appearance and then bug me bar. Settings and then bug me bar. The only other thing that we can do, I went into how to use RCam. I think it was actually during lesson 4. That's how you can customize like the buttons that you see in the sidebar, the social media buttons. I saw some people had some questions on how you get, for example, like Twitter to work. So if you see on my sidebar, I have Google+, YouTube, and Instagram. Some people wondered how you got Twitter to work if you've enabled that. So basically what you got to do is you have to follow these instructions here. You can see that some of them don't require you to do that. Like Facebook, I just have to put in my fan page ID. But in order for Twitter to work, for example, I actually need to follow the instructions that are outlined on this page. Okay, it's pretty easy. Again, just don't overcomplicate it. Just follow the steps exactly as it says here. And you guys are just going to have to copy and paste these special keys. That's going to basically allow your blog to communicate with Twitter. Okay. Easy social buttons, that's, again, it's not related to opting in, but this is just the social share buttons that you see at the bottom of blog posts. So I don't really recommend that you customize these too much, because if you guys go inside this easy social share buttons area, you're going to see that there's actually a ton of options. It took me actually a couple hours to actually figure out the best way to use this plugin. So I don't recommend you mess around with the settings. The only thing you may want to do is you may want to change just the template, which is on the very first page. So I mean, you guys can definitely play around with that if you want to change the template, but unless you really feel a need to, I don't really recommend changing any of the settings. I've already set up your blogs, so the social buttons look really good. So that's cool. Other than that, the only thing we have is, actually, I think that's it. So that's pretty much how you guys apply the pop-ups. Like I said, the 2 main plugins are the Bug Me bar and then also the OptiMonster. And OptiMonster is really what does it all. It allows you to do the sidebar opt-ins, allows you to do the pop-ups, allows you to do the opt-ins after posts, all right? It allows you to do slide-ins. So this is going to be your main plugin, which you're going to do to really start to collect leads, all right? So I'm just going to check for questions quickly inside the group. If there's no questions, we will go ahead and move on. How many pop-ups should you have on your blog, and how much is too much? I really only suggest doing one, okay? So if you're going to do the exit intent, which is where someone's about to click the back button and the pop-up appears, then I would just do that, all right? I wouldn't do both. I wouldn't do both where you have the exit intent pop-up and then also the pop-up which appears like 10 seconds after someone's on the website. In my opinion, that's just too much in someone's face, okay? I would personally just do one. You either choose whether you want it to be the one where someone's about to click the back button or appears, or if you want it to be the one that appears basically after 10 seconds someone's been on the site. And the reason why you want to delay the pop-up from actually coming on screen is because when someone first appears on your page, they haven't really had a chance to decide whether they're going to read your blog post or not. And if you just suddenly throw a pop-up in their face, because they don't even know you, they're basically just going to find this annoying and they're just going to leave. The research is showing it takes someone about 9 seconds to figure out whether they're going to stay on your page and actually read it or not. All right. So that's why I always serve if I do a pop-up opt-in form, it's always minimum 10 seconds before it appears. I usually do 15 because then at least I know someone has actually started reading the post, and if they're getting some value, at least then they're going to be more inclined to actually want to opt in than if I just throw it in their face. So hopefully that answers your question. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go back to our lovely PowerPoint here. There we go. All right. So I showed you guys how to integrate the opt-ins with your blog, your irresistible offer into your blog, but we're still missing an ingredient, all right? And this is, of course, how you're going to collect leads when someone opts in, how you're going to email those leads, and also how you're going to deliver your irresistible offer. And to do this, what you guys are going to need is an email marketing service such as Aweber. There's a ton of email marketing services out there. There's Aweber, MailChimp, iContact. I mean, there's just so many that you can go with. If you guys have your own, then happy days. If you guys don't have one, then the one that I actually recommend that you guys check out is called Aweber. Okay, so you can just go to Aweber. There we go. And basically, Aweber, like I said, it's a service that allows you to send emails reliably because you can't really do it. You can install plugins through WordPress, which is going to allow you to send emails, but it's really unreliable. And you can use even Gmail, but again, it's super unreliable, and you can get your account banned. So you need to really invest in an email marketing service. So Aweber starts off at very, very cheap. You can join $1 for the first month, and then it goes to $19 a month after that, okay? And that's up to 500 subscribers. Once you get over 500 subscribers, then the price starts going up. But for $1 first month and then $19 a month, you guys can have a really solid email service. So I definitely suggest, if you guys haven't already, that you take the time to sign up with Aweber. So maybe you go ahead and pause this video and do that now. I see Paul has a question. What about the one that works within WordPress? You mean the email? Are you talking about, there's a little bit of a delay, so Paul, let me know what you're talking about, whether you're talking about opt-ins or now if you're talking about emails in terms of like sending emails through WordPress. Like I said, you can. If you're on a tight budget, I mean, you have to do what you do. You have to do what you do, right? I mean, if you have to use the built-in WordPress one, then you can use that for now. I'm not too sure how that integrates with OptiMonster or any of the other ones. I think you kind of have to figure that out. But for simplicity's sake, I really suggest Aweber because you're going to need some of the features that we talk about going forward. So I'm just going to go ahead and log into my Aweber account. Again, I'm not going to walk you through necessarily exactly the whole process of doing this. Basically, the first time that you log into Aweber, you're going to have to create a list. So you're just going to have to follow the steps. It just asks you basically personal information in terms of like your name, the name of the list, and everything like that. Why not? I'll walk you guys through here. So create a list. So this is what you're going to see the first time that you log in to Aweber. So what you're going to need to do is you're just going to need to obviously fill in the information. So Company name would be like Entrepreneur. Okay, yeah, so Paul, like I said, if you are on a tighter budget and you need to do that, then yeah, I mean, you can use it, but realistically, you're going to need the functionality of Aweber moving forward. So really something that you're going to want to try to invest into is Aweber. So we have Entrepreneur as website, obviously put yours in there, and then your address. Basically, you need to put your address because it's a law, because people need to be accountable to spam mail. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my address here quickly. This is obviously my address in Thailand, but I actually don't even know my Thailand address right now. There we go. So this is important. So sender name. This is the name that's going to appear in all the emails. So make sure, obviously, you put your personal name here. Don't put a company here, because again, you want people buy from people, not companies. Okay, so put your name here. In terms of sender email, what you want to do is you want to use, when we were setting up the Google, when we were talking about SEO and we set up like the Google authorship, you needed an email with your domain in it. Okay, so you guys are gonna need to put that email here. So for me, it's Jaden@Entrepreneur. All right, so that's cool. I'm gonna go next step. List name. Okay, so basically lists are used to segment subscribers. Okay, so say for example you had a website on, as it says here, like losing weight. Obviously, I would call this list maybe losing weight or low fat recipes. If I had another website on a completely different topic like cars, then I would obviously create a new list, because we don't want to merge subscribers with different interests into one list, right? So just call this list just your blog's name, probably like Entrepreneur. Briefly describe the emails that the subscriber is going to receive, tips, internet marketing. Next step. So this is whether you want the person to, when they opt in, this is called what's double opt-in. So whether you want the person to have to click a link to confirm that this is a legit email. Personally, I don't do this, and you're going to hear mixed theories on this. Everybody has varying theories. It's just like SEO. There's no one real answer. You guys kind of have to decide for yourself. In my opinion, because I go after hungry buyers, I know my opt-ins are very, very laser targeted. I actually don't require my my subscribers to double opt-in. All right. So what I do is I actually turn this to where is, I always actually changed the interface since last time I've used this. It's actually pretty funny. I'm not too sure. There's usually a button that says that I can use to disable this, but it looks like it's not here. Or we'll just leave this for now and come back to it later. All right, so now I have this list that we've just made, and then you're going to come to an interface that looks something like this. All right, guys. So basically from Aweber, what we're able to do is we're able to send messages. Okay, so if I go broadcasts, this is what allows me to send messages to my new subscribers. If I go into what's called follow-up series, and we're going to get into this more when I switch back over to the PowerPoint, but follow-up series is what's called an autoresponder. So I can actually create messages which are going to go out to people automatically. So if I go over to my 500K Blogging Academy list, you can see this is my follow series. So I actually send these emails out automatically. So I send this right when they subscribe. I send this 1 day later. I send this email another day later. Okay. So you can see that this is what's called an autoresponder. These are messages that get sent out automatically. All right. In terms of okay. So if you guys want to turn off, like I was talking about before, the what's called the double opt-in, go ahead and go into list settings, right here, list options, and then list settings. Go into confirmed opt-in, and you guys can actually turn this off right here. And this is what personally I recommend you do because all you guys are targeting hungry buyers, which you know are high quality leads. You're not just going after everyone and anyone. So I actually recommend you do turn that off. it looks like you can't do that the first time you make your list, but you can do that after it's created by going to list options, list settings, confirmed opt-in, and turning required opt-in forms on web off. All right, so that's about it. I'm going to show you guys how to use this more once I cover more stuff in the PowerPoint. So like I said, you guys are going to need yourself an email marketing service because you're going to want the functionality to send emails reliably. This is, like I said, this is where emails are stored. And as we're going to get into the PowerPoint, you want the functionality of a follow-up series, otherwise known as an autoresponder, because that's where your real time freedom comes in, is when emails just get sent out automatically, right? So let's go back into the PowerPoint here. So pretty much already went into that. Basically, like I said, email marketing services allow you to create multiple lists. So maybe you have one list for a newsletter, you have another list for another course that you're doing. Like I said, lists are just used to segment subscribers. You can create multiple opt-in forms. So one thing that I didn't show you guys just then was you can actually use Aweber to create opt-in forms. But because we have plugins and stuff on our WordPress site, we don't really need to worry about that. We can view stats on our list, which I'm going to show you guys later, where we can see who's opened emails, what time they're opening emails, and stuff like that. We can send emails, obviously, and we can set up autoresponders. And autoresponders, like I said, guys, are really how you create that true passive income, because what autoresponders will do is automatically email your list for you as soon as you opt in. So as soon as they opt in. So once they opt in, they could get emails sent to them for a whole month if you configure it. I know people who have autoresponders that are over a year in length. So someone opts in and they have emails going out to them automatically for a whole year. And obviously, because the biggest thing is, guys, the sale isn't in the first opt-in. The sale comes from the follow-up. And research shows that usually it's minimum 7 to 14 days before someone's actually going to take action and buy from you. It's a very small percentage of people that actually buy with their first encounter. So that's why email follow-up is just so important, because you keep getting back in front of the person, and once you get in front of them enough times, that's really when they buy. Like I talked about this in previous lessons, it's generally after like the 10th contact that someone is really raring to go. All right, so usually after people have understanding of what an autoresponder is, they have some questions. So most of the time they wonder, like, well, what kind of messages should I be sending my subscribers? How long should the autoresponder keep sending these messages for? So obviously I'm going to give you guys answers to that. So the types of messages that you want to be sending in your autoresponder really relate to the new problems that your irresistible offer has brought up, which is going to put your hungry buyer back into to a state of pain where they're going to want to purchase your product or service, right? So we're going to dive into actually how I recommend structuring this very shortly. But what you also want to cover in your autoresponder is things like objections. So when you were mapping out your irresistible offer, you should have kind of planned it out, and you should have kind of thought to yourself, well, what are some objections that someone's going to have? So a lot of times you want to turn these objections into emails. You want to add social proof, so maybe you want to send them a few testimonials. Sharing stories, right? So maybe sharing stories of how your product or service has impacted you or impacted someone else. Those are the kind of things that you want to be including in your autoresponder to get someone to act. In terms of the length of your autoresponder, you really want it to be sending out emails for about 2 to 3 weeks minimum, okay? 2 weeks being the minimum. Now, a lot of people mean, well, does this mean I'm emailing them every single day for 2 to 3 weeks? No. Emailing every day, in my opinion, really stinks of kind of desperation and like that used car salesman approach, okay? So you think of a used car salesman, and really those guys get a bad rep. It's a tough gig. And the image that someone conjures up when people email daily and when you get positioned as a used car salesman isn't really someone that we trust, right? It's someone who's pushy, he isn't really on our side, he doesn't have our best interest. So that's not the position that you want to be in, okay? Now, there are some cases when you will want to email daily if it's a time-sensitive offer. So I mean, say for example, you're trying to promote a webinar, all right? So you do a couple emails or even 3 emails that day to make sure people get on. I mean, that's fine. And in the beginning, I mean, you're going to see in the template in a second, I actually have some emails which go after one or the other. But you don't want to get in the continuous habit of emailing someone daily for an extended period of time, because like I said, it just really feels like that car salesman approach where you're trying to shove something down their throats, and that's not what you want, right? So like I said, you really want the alignment between you and your prospect so that it clearly puts you and the person on the same side, all right? That it's unmistakable that you're on the same team. So emailing, like I said, emailing daily is really not the way to go for the long term. In terms of how you structure your autoresponder, this is realistically kind of a template that I come up with. I'm going to let you guys download this PowerPoint. There's no worksheet for this lesson because it was more technical and more showing you guys things. But I'm going to obviously upload this PowerPoint to the file section after so you guys can have a better look at this structure. But when you guys come up with your irresistible offer and you get to the point where now, okay, now it's time to think of some emails and that are going to go out to the person, this is realistically how I recommend you structure your emails. So what you do is the first email, you would email them basically the link to what they were promised. All right. So if you're giving them a PDF, then I would email them. I'd be like, thanks for opting in. Make sure you add this email to your whitelist. And here's the link that I promised you where you can download your free report on XYZ. I'll put a link to where they can download that free report, whether it's a page on the blog, it's a download link, whatever that would be. All right, so that'd be the first email, and that would send basically instantly after they opt in. And that's just to, even though they're going to be directed to that right after they opt in, this is just kind of to remind them. The second email, which I would send the very next day, would be kind of like a personal introduction. All right, so I believe this is important because this is going to really allow you to connect with the person on a deeper level and on multiple levels. So usually what I'll do is I'll just kind of be like sorry, I apologize, or something like that in the subject line, which we're going to get into actually subject lines next. And then basically I just go into basically my story, how it relates to my irresistible offer, and then I also give people the call to action, not to buy this email, but actually to connect with me on other networks like Facebook, YouTube, because again, you want to get the person in front of you on multiple platforms. Email number 3, which I usually will send out the next day as well, and this is the last day where I email them daily. This will basically recap the whole experience that the person should have went through after going through our irresistible offer. So I would recap. I would, in kind of like a story, I would basically go from pleasure back to pain and into pleasure again. So like I said, I would recap how the fact that they've solved their initial problem, which the irresistible offer solved, but then how new problems have arisen and how the new pains can be solved with the product. And I would put a link to obviously taking action on my main product or service to buy. The fourth email, which would go out about 2 days later, would talk about the benefits of my main product or service I'm selling. It would talk about its ease of use, speed of results, and I would kind of future cast results. Like again, this shouldn't be really that hard, guys, because you guys have answered a lot of the questions in terms of what your hungry buyer has a lot of pains about, what their objections are, and you've also mapped out mini stories, if you remember, with all the senses. So this is really where I would take advantage of those mini stories and really just kind of future cast the results that the person's going to get with my main product or service. The next email, email 5, which I would send out 3 days later, approximately, is I would approach the new problems from a different perspective. And again, you would want to end with your product or service being the knight in shining armor. So I would just take a different perspective on the problem. Email number 6, which I would send out 2 days later, I would go into adding social proof. So I would add in some testimonials, maybe add in some results, maybe add in some of my credentials just to make the offer more enticing. Email 7, which would go out 3 days later, I would approach the problem again from a different perspective with your product or service solving a specific problem. Email 8, this would be kind of an email where I go back into bonuses. So remember when I talked about stacking value, and just to remind them that these are all the bonuses that person's going to get. I might even throw in an extra one in there just so that the person is more inclined to take action. And email number 9, my last email in the autoresponder, would be basically checking up on the subscribers and asking them, well, what do you think of the irresistible offer? Is there anything it can help you with? What's stopping you from taking action? All right, that's kind of just a generic template that I usually start out with. It obviously changes a little bit. Like if I do a video course, you guys can see my autoresponder for my 500K Blogging Academy is structured a little bit differently because obviously I had different parts going out to them every single day. So I had, once this loads here, I emailed them part 1, part 2, part 3 first before I go into some of the other elements you can see in my autoresponder. But this is a great starting template for you guys to use when you're coming up with your autoresponder for your hungry buyers and for your irresistible offer. So I recommend that you guys copy and paste this into a Word document and you start kind of planning out how you want the emails to be written. What I usually do is I start with the subject lines. All right, so subject lines, you have to think they're not headlines. Even though headlines and subject lines are similar, they don't have the same job, right? A headline's job, so like your blog post or headline in copywriting, is to get the person to read the first sentence. All right. A subject line is to get the person to open an email. So the subject line, if I go into my inbox here, I actually just cleaned it out, so I don't have any emails. But the subject line would be like 20 life lessons. Okay, you can see the subject line right here, or have a look. All right. So that would be the subject line. So that's what we're talking about here. And subject lines are obviously so important because that's what determines whether someone's actually going to open your emails or not and read them. And your subject line should speak to the hardwiring of your hungry buyer. So you guys need to remember that emails were originally designed for conversation. So personal emails obviously work wonders. So emails like, hey, how's it going? It's a very personal things. Almost like you're text messaging someone. Those kind of subject lines are proven to work very well. Other kind of subject lines you can do are like questions, statements. There's so many different subject lines that you guys can use, okay? Just make the subject lines so that they speak the hardwiring of your hungry buyer. And you can look into, I've actually uploaded in the file section, there's like a copywriting handbook which includes some ideas that you guys can use for subject lines. You guys can even type into Google like examples of good subject lines if you want more elaboration on that, on what some of the different types of subject lines you can use are. And make sure that you guys are also using your hungry buyer's lingo. So you should have identified words and phrases that your hungry buyer likes to use. So ideally you want to be using those in your subject lines. And this is obviously a big key that a lot of people forget. Remember that the biggest thing that decides whether someone's going to open your email or not is your name, right? So obviously you want your name to be associated with great pleasure and not great pain. So don't spam people. Try to be someone that always strives to provide value, and make it so when someone sees your name in the inbox, the reason why they open it isn't because of the subject name, but it's because of your name. Because they think, oh, awesome, Jane sent me another email. Jane always sends really valuable emails, so I'm going to open it. Because a lot of people think of like, well, how can I write the most catchiest subject lines and you do all this like psychological stuff? But in all honesty, it really doesn't matter. The biggest thing that you need to do is you need to get people to associate your name with great pleasure. So when they, like I said, when they see your name in the inbox, they just open your email automatically. They don't even really look at the subject line because that's not what determines it. It's your name. Some other ideas you guys can get for squeeze pages is if you, for subject lines, is if you have squeeze pages or sales pages for your main product or service, and you've used bullet points, you can kind of transform those bullet points into subject lines. And to be honest, guys, the best way that you're going to improve with figuring out how to structure emails and email subject lines is subscribing to other people's lists and seeing what they do. Okay, I talked about this before in terms of how you can get better at copywriting, but really that's the best way you can do it. Subscribe to other people's lists, write down catchy headlines that you see, write down catchy emails, and rework those emails for yourself. All right. So what about the body? So what about the makeup of the email? So again, you really want to be starting everything with that intention of creating pleasure, transitioning into pain, and then associating pleasure with your call to action. All right. So this is kind of just the mindset that you want to get into when you're doing copywriting in general and trying to get someone to act. Is you want to get them into a state of pleasure, so they're really excited. Then you want to bring them back down into pain by bringing up new problems. And you want it to be that they have to click that link inside the email, whether it goes to your sales page or wherever else, to basically solve that pain. You should really have 2 to 3 links in an email. So there should be a link in the beginning and at the end, at the minimum. Ideally, there would be a link in the beginning, middle, and end. So that way, there's always a link that someone can click as they're going through your email. In terms of the email length, usually I stick to shorter emails just because people have less attention spans nowadays. But understand that shorter emails, they may have more of a percentage of people that will click the links. But longer emails usually result in higher quality clicks because If you have a long email and you put a link at the bottom, for example, it means that the only people who are going to be clicking those links are people who took the time to read that email. So you want to use a mixture of both in reality. You want to use, I would say most of the majority shorter emails, but you definitely want to throw in some longer emails in there, excuse me, as well. Last but not least, this is something that a lot of people forget to do, is realistically you want to make sure that you double check that the links work, all right? Because you don't want to be sending emails. I've actually done this before where I've sent emails where links are broken, and it's not fun because you lose sales and people can't obviously use your access stuff properly. So always double check links to make sure they work correctly before you make something live. That's another big key point. Another thing that a lot of people wonder is, when should emails be sent? Now, there's never going to be some magical time where you send an email at this time and suddenly you're going to, like, it's going to go crazy and you're going to get much better results. The word on the street is that if you send out emails between 10 and 11 a.m. Eastern time, or between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern, those are really the best times that you can send out emails. So I'm going to show you guys in a second how you can do that with Aweber and a little bit more detail here. But you're going to want to write those down. Those are generally what most people find are the best times to send out those emails. If your business is local, then don't do 10 or 11 a.m. or 3 or 4 p.m. Eastern, and then do it in your local time. But if your business isn't local, if you're serving to clients all over the world, generally those are the times that you're going to want to send out emails. I mean, at the end of the day, you should do your own testing, but if you don't really know, then those are the times that I would recommend to send out emails where most people are going to update, to see them and actually open your emails. All right. Let me make sure there's no questions. Sweet. Okay. So basically, guys, again, to create autoresponders, basically you go into follow-up series. And basically, you're just going to go create follow-up. And what you guys are going to see is this is the interface of Aweber. Again, I'm not spending too much time because I think a lot of people actually already have an Aweber account. And again, it's so easy for you guys to find Aweber tutorials on YouTube. You can just type in how to use Aweber, and you're going to find a million different YouTube videos walking you through it. Like I said, I like to spend time on things that you can't really find on YouTube, but I will walk you guys briefly through this. My internet's a little bit slow right now, but essentially it's just like the standard like WordPress post editor. So basically I can add text here, I can add images, other paragraphs, headlines. So again, you're really just going to want to follow what I've outlined in the body slides and how to structure your autoresponder. Now once you come up with a message that you're happy with, again I'm just going to do test right now. You're going to go into settings. And what you're going to see here is the interval. So this is the interval. Basically, I want to send message number 3 how many days after the previous one. So the first time that you do a message in your autoresponder, it's going to be sent instantly. And then you're going to see this screen when you do another message. So if you want to send it 1 day after the previous one, you would put that. If you want to send it 2 days after the previous message, put 2. All right? Pretty self-explanatory. This is when you can configure the send window. So I told you guys that usually emails go at best 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern or 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern. So, and generally, emails are more so read during weekdays than the weekends. That's what most people find. So I would go, again, I can configure this here. So it starts sending emails maybe at 9 a.m. and that's 12 noon. It doesn't look like I can do the exact date there. And that would be it. And they would start sending out the emails Eastern time. And I can also add other intervals as well. So that's autoresponders, guys. You have to remember that broadcasts are basically just emails that you want to send one time. So if I want to email my list about an upcoming live event, I obviously wouldn't add that to my autoresponder because that's time sensitive. I would just create a broadcast, okay? So you can see here, like I'll email like watch replays and stuff like that. If there is an email that I do that's not time sensitive, that I just decide to send out to my list, then it's also a good idea that you guys add that email to your follow-up series. So again, eventually you're going to have an autoresponder which markets to people even past 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe it'll be a couple months, 3 months, 4 months, a year, right? So every time that you send non-time sensitive emails, usually it's a good idea to add it to your autoresponder after the main planned out emails. The last thing I want to cover with you guys is some sneaky pro tricks. So these are some sneaky tricks that you guys can implement in your email marketing, which will make you stand out from the crowd. So one of the things that you guys can do is if you send out an email with a really low open rate, what you can actually do is you can change the subject line and resend it to the exact content to everyone that didn't open, the email. So you gotta think, if the person hasn't opened your email yet, then if you send it to them again, it's not going to be bad because they haven't even read it the first time, because maybe they missed it. That's what happens a lot of times. If someone doesn't open your email, it's because they get so much email that they just miss it. So you can send it again with a catchier headline and see if you can regain their attention. So how you do this is you go inside to, let's just go into my entrepreneur list. Just wait for this to load here. But I'm going to show you guys how you can do this. It's a pretty cool trick that a lot of people use. So you can see one of the emails I've sent out was comment your way to the first page of Google. This was a while ago, but regardless, go view stats. It's going to take me to the statistics page, which once it loads, you guys will see. Apologize, my internet's taking long to load today. That's a talent for you sometimes. Hopefully this loads here. Okay, there we go. So if I want to resend emails to people who haven't seen my message, what I go down is to scroll down to where this says opens here. I click unopen right here, this unopen button. And you can see that for this particular message, there's 469 people that didn't open my message. So I can send directly to these subscribers by clicking this button the exact same email. I can just change the subject line. Number one, I can see if it's more catchy so more people open it. Like I said, I can just reclaim all those people who didn't open my email. What I can also do is if I switch over to the open button here, I can see who's clicked my email. Okay. So for example, if I see that there's like 123 people who opened the email, but there's very few people who actually clicked it, or I made very few sales from that specific email, I could actually email the subscribers who clicked links or opened the emails directly and be like, hey, was there anything preventing you from making that decision to purchase? All right. So this is really, again, just some sneaky things that separate amateur marketers from pro marketers, is the ability to communicate, number one, with people that you know have opened your emails, and people, number two, that you know have not opened your email. What you can also do is you can split test emails. Just like you can split test like pop-up opt-in forms and sidebar opt-in forms, I can actually create a split test. So if I go on over to broadcasts, if I want to send an email, I can actually create a split test email. And what's going to happen is I can configure how many messages I want to split test. So if I want to just split test like 2 different headlines, I can go 50% of emails, 50% of email 1 goes to my subscriber base, 50% of email 2 goes to my subscriber base. I can see which email gets more opens of the email, and I can determine which subject line or which email converts the best. All right, so those are just some sneaky tricks that you can use with your email marketing service provider. Most of them have this functionality. This is just a demo from the perspective of Aweber. So that's about it, guys. There's not really an assignment with this one because realistically, this is all just about doing your autoresponder when you get to it. So once you guys come with your irresistible offer and you start to integrate it into your blog, then you guys can follow the format of the autoresponder template and start coming up with emails for it. And again, don't strive for over perfection. Don't overcomplicate things. I think your emails need to be golden, and your emails need to be like some absolute masterpiece. You don't even have to finish your whole autoresponder series if you want to make it live. Just finish the very first email where someone goes to download it, okay? And then what you guys can do is you guys can maybe add another email every few days, okay? You don't need to everything doesn't need to be perfect before you do things, okay? So just don't get into the trap of thinking that there's a whole bunch of work that you need to do. Launch your irresistible offer just with the very first email that goes out telling them where to download it, and then just start to add emails every few days. Don't wait like 3-4 weeks until you make all these emails and don't take any action, because that's just holding yourself back, all right? And it's a form of procrastination, over perfectionism. So don't aim for over perfection, guys. Just take imperfect action on this. If you need to come back and watch it a few times, do that. But let me know if you guys have any other questions inside the group. I'm more than willing to answer it. And the next lesson that we're going to be diving into is going to be on Wednesday, July 23rd at 9 p.m. EST, where Fraser McDonald is going to talk about the art of social media. So I'll catch you guys then, and we'll talk soon.